Hey there, fresh grads. I am so incredibly excited you're tuning in today. Welcome to this explainer, which is basically your ultimate hype-free roadmap for actually breaking into the tech industry. We are completely cutting through all the noise right now. We're going to look exactly at what you need to do step by step to go from just holding that diploma to landing a real paying role in tech this year. Okay, let's dive right into this. So, you just graduated. First off, massive congratulations. But look, if you're like most fresh graduates out there, you're probably feeling this huge wave of overwhelming anxiety right about now. The tech landscape just seems incredibly vast, doesn't it? You're probably sitting there asking yourself, what exactly do I need to study to actually be hireable right out of college? There are just so many tools, so many frameworks, and it really feels like the goalposts just keep shifting. Well, take a deep breath because we have the bare minimum 2025 requirements mapped out for you perfectly. Okay, hit the brakes for a second because I've got a bit of a reality check for you. I know you literally just spent 4 years writing code, but forget stressing over mastering a dozen different programming languages. Why? Well, because as we head deeper into 2025, most of the actual code is being generated by AI. What the industry is absolutely desperate for right now are people who know how to operate, deploy, and manage the infrastructure around that code. You need operation skills. That is where you become totally invaluable. So here is our 5-step game plan to get you there. Think of this as a highly actionable, self-guided boot camp that you can start the literal day after getting your diploma. Level 1 is the foundation, which is Linux. Level 2 is version control with Git. Level 3 covers modern automation using CI tools. Level 4 tackles containerization. And finally, level 5 is infrastructure as code. All right, let's kick things off with level 1, the foundation, Linux. We are starting right at the very beginning. And listen, you absolutely do not need to memorize every single manual page out there. The crucial point is just mastering these highly specific day-to-day Linux commands. Think of this stuff as your basic survival kit for your first week on the job. You need to understand the file system and, yeah, pick up some basic shell scripting. But honestly, more importantly, you just need to know how to execute common everyday activities, like how to manage users and groups, how to check your running processes to see what's eating up all your memory, and how to start or restart a service. You can literally find a list of all these commands easily on YouTube, but these are the exact basics you must practice. And you know what the best part is? 10. That is the maximum number of days you should spend on this step. Spend at least 7 to 10 days learning and practicing these Linux basics, and then we keep the momentum rolling. Seriously, do not get stuck here. Moving right along to level 2, version control Git. Once you've got that solid Linux foundation, we move straight to version control. Now, why is Git so incredibly important? It all boils down to this concept right here, GitOps. As an entire industry, we are moving closer and closer to this GitOps mentality. Basically, it means taking all the best practices used in app development and applying them directly to infrastructure automation. So for a fresh grad, this means mastering Git is absolutely non-negotiable for your career. Everything you do is going to live in version control. To actually survive out there on a real 2025 engineering team, you have to master these specific daily operations. It's way more than just saving your work locally. You need to know how to perform a pull and a push. You've got to know how to create a PR, a pull request. And crucially, you have to know how to resolve those super annoying merge conflicts and finally merge two branches together. This stuff is literally the daily lifeblood of any engineering team. Now, don't worry, this step is a super fast sprint. You only need to spend about 2 to 3 days to learn and practice these Git operations. Just set up some dummy repositories, make some branches, cause some conflicts on purpose, and resolve them. 3 days, and boom, you're done. Next up, level 3, modern automation CI tools. This is the really fun part where we start taking those workflows you just learned and putting them entirely on autopilot. But quick warning here. College curriculums can sometimes be a bit behind the times. You might have learned Jenkins in school, but Jenkins is honestly very legacy now, and organizations are actively moving away from it, so do not put all your energy there. Instead, grab a freely available modern CI tool. The ones 2025 employers actually use and desperately want to see on your resume are tools like GitLab CI or GitHub Actions. Once you pick your modern CI tool, your main task is to link this automated pipeline directly to your Git repo. You need to practice setting up 3 absolutely critical stages in your pipeline: building the app, testing the app automatically, and finally deploying it. Let me tell you, when you can show a potential employer that just pushing code to Git automatically triggers a build, test, and deploy sequence, wow, that is when you become a massive asset to them. Go ahead and block out 5 to 7 days for this. Spend that week practicing how to write and configure a few different types of these automated pipelines. It definitely takes a little trial and error, but 7 days of focused practice will absolutely get you there. All right, brace yourselves for level 4, containerization. This right here is the heavyweight challenger of our entire bootcamp. To master containerization, you need to get your hands dirty with 2 vital tools, Docker and Kubernetes. First, for Docker, you really should practice writing a couple of Docker files for your own personal projects. You need to understand how multi-stage builds work and the different arguments you use inside a Docker file. Then, you're going to take that Docker container and deploy it right into your own local Kubernetes cluster. To set up that local cluster, you can use handy tools like Minikube or kubeadm. Once that's all up and running, try writing some basic YAML files to create deployments and services inside your cluster. Now, I am not going to sugarcoat it for you. Kubernetes is a vast, complicated topic, but it is also incredibly in demand. Because of that, you should plan to spend a solid 10 to 15 days just learning Kubernetes. It's the most significant time investment in this whole bootcamp, but I promise you, it is undoubtedly the most rewarding. And suddenly, we've hit the final boss. Level 5, Infrastructure as Code. You have officially arrived at the finish line. This is where everything you've built gets beautifully scaled up into the cloud. So let's define what Infrastructure as Code actually means. Infrastructure as Code, or IAC, gives you this incredible ability to perform one-click deployments of resources on literally any cloud provider. And the absolute magic wand we use for this? It's called Terraform. Terraform is just massively widely used across the whole industry. Instead of manually clicking around some cloud provider's website to set up your servers, you just write it in code, and Terraform magically builds the whole shebang for you instantly. So, here is your final assignment for this self-guided bootcamp. Choose a cloud provider. Honestly, it doesn't matter which one. Then, try creating a few cloud resources on that provider exclusively through Terraform. Practice writing different Terraform modules just to see how the code translates directly to real, live cloud infrastructure. Spend the last 5 to 7 days practicing this exact workflow. Let's zoom out and look at the big picture here. This timeline really brings the entire narrative together. Days 1 through 10, you are laying your Linux foundation. Days 11 to 13, you're mastering Git operations. Days 14 to 20, you're building modern CI pipelines. Days 21 to 35, you're tackling the beast of containerization with Docker and Kubernetes. And finally, days 36 to 42, you are wrapping the whole thing up with infrastructure as code using Terraform. This brilliant timeline proves that this massive, seemingly impossible career leap can actually be systematically achieved in just around 40 days. These 5 basics are literally the bare minimum you need in 2025 to start working in DevOps. So, fresh grads, there it is. Your roadmap is officially set in stone. We bypassed the legacy tools, we totally ignored the AI replaceable coding tasks, and we focused purely on the high-value operation skills that modern engineering teams are actually hiring for right now. The roadmap is built, the tools are chosen, the only real question left for you is when will you deploy your career? Day 1 starts today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.